In this lesson, we're going to explore how to find out what functions are hooked into filters using the rdebug library. As we saw before, this rdebug library from Rarst, a well-respected developer in the WordPress community, is a basic PHP file that we've gone ahead and included in our theme. Again, I'm using the same theme that we used to explore action hooks because it's pretty much the same process. We've got the rdebug saved in a library folder, and then in our functions.php file, we're requiring in that file to make it accessible in our theme. Then in our index.php file, we are calling our rdebug class and the listhooks method. On the front end of our site, that will display all of the action and filter hooks, which is what WP Filters does, just in a much nicer format. Just like we saw before, you can drill down specifically into one of these, and we can see just what's being applied and what priority in this really nice format. So if you like rdebug and this looks nicer than using WP Filter, I suggest you include it for development purposes, but I'd take it out when your actual theme ships because it might not be something you necessarily need to ship with. However, I want to show you one cool thing about this library that we didn't look at before. I'm going to come down into our header.php file, and up here right inside the body tag, I'm going to echo this out, but instead of calling list hooks, I'm going to run list live hooks, which is a method we didn't look at before, but the library has. I mentioned that it has a few different functions in different cases, but here's one other that can be particularly helpful when looking at filters. Now if I come over to a page on my site, we can see that all throughout the page, all of these filters are being called with things hooked into them. And this library will show us them all right before they execute. So right before the title is executing, we have these filters. Right before the content or the excerpt is displaying, we have these. Over here with the search features and in the widget areas, we have stuff going on as well. And we saw a ton in the header just to filter through all the menus. Because remember, every one of these menu items is also a title, so that triggers similar things there. This is similar to some of the other tools and the plugins that we'll look at, but it's a nice feature to help you see where on the page a filter might be called and if you're hooked in properly as expected. Go ahead and play around with both of these options just so that you're comfortable with this library, and then we'll look at some plugins that make this a little bit easier.